Welcome to Omas True Stories. This is the story of Chibuzo.
In a rural African village, a young boy named Chibuzo was born into extreme poverty. His family struggled to survive, barely managing to eat 3 meals a day. The villagers mocked and ridiculed Chibuzo's family for their poverty, isolating them from the rest of the community. Despite the laughter and scorn, Chibuzo held on to hope. As he grew older, Chibuzo found peace by the river, where he would go to pray and sing. He dreamed of becoming wealthy and lifting his family out of hardship. However, tragedy struck when his father fell gravely ill. Without money for medical care, his father passed away, leaving Chibuzo devastated. Desperate for a better life, Chibuzo poured out his sorrows by the riverbank, pleading for a miracle. One day, while at the river, Chibuzo encountered a beautiful young woman carrying a heavy load. He offered to help her, and they began talking. Unbeknownst to Chibuzo, the woman was actually a mermaid in disguise. As they grew closer, the mermaid asked Chibuzo what he desired most in life. Chibuzo told her that he wished for wealth beyond imagination, hoping to escape his life of poverty. The mermaid offered Chibuzo an incredible opportunity. She promised to make him the richest man in the village, but under one condition: he could never marry anyone else but her. Without hesitation, Chibuzo agreed, blinded by his desire for wealth. Overnight, Chibuzo's fortunes changed. His family became the wealthiest in the village, living in a grand house with every luxury imaginable. The villagers, who once mocked him, now flocked to his home to admire his wealth and enjoy the food and gifts he generously provided. Chibuzo was no longer an outcast, and he basked in the newfound respect and admiration. However, as time passed, Chibuzo felt a growing emptiness. Despite his wealth, he longed for a family of his own, for a wife and children to share his life with. The mermaid, though kind, could not give him the human life he desired. She reminded him of the condition they had agreed upon, but Chibuzo's heart was torn between his promise and his longing for a normal life. Determined to find a way out of his agreement, Chibuzo consulted the village elders. They revealed to him the mermaid's one weakness: she could not consume red oil. Armed with this knowledge, Chibuzo devised a plan to break free from the mermaid's grasp. He invited the mermaid to a lavish feast and secretly prepared a dish with red oil. The mermaid, unsuspecting, ate the food. As the red oil took effect, she began to weaken, her powers diminishing. Realizing what Chibuzo had done, the mermaid's face twisted with anger and betrayal. In her fury, she cursed Chibuzo and the entire village. No male children would be born, and the wealth Chibuzo had gained would disappear, leaving him with nothing. After laying the curse, the mermaid vanished back into the river, leaving Chibuzo in shock and regret. Almost immediately, Chibuzo's fortunes crumbled. His grand home fell into disrepair, and the villagers, once adoring, now distanced themselves from him. The laughter and respect turned to whispers and scorn as they blamed him for the village's misfortune. Panic spread throughout the village as the realization of the curse set in. For years, no male children were born, and the future of the village seemed bleak. Desperate to lift the curse, Chibuzo returned to the river, pleading with the mermaid to forgive him and reverse the curse. But his cries went unanswered, and the weight of his choices bore down on him. In their anger, the villagers exiled Chibuzo, blaming him entirely for the village's suffering. Wandering alone, Chibuzo reflected on his actions, filled with guilt and regret. One night, as he slept under a tree, he had a vision of the mermaid. She appeared before him, offering him one final chance for redemption. The mermaid told Chibuzo that he could only lift the curse by making a great sacrifice and renouncing his desire for wealth. Torn between his desire for riches and his responsibility to the village, Chibuzo eventually chose to give up everything for the greater good. Returning to the riverbank, Chibuzo offered his most prized possession to the mermaid, praying for forgiveness. The mermaid, moved by his sincerity, acknowledged his sacrifice but reminded him that true redemption required him to let go of his material desires. With a heavy heart, Chibuzo renounced his wealth, and in that moment, the curse was lifted. Male children were born again in the village, and prosperity returned. The villagers, realizing the enormity of Chibuzo's sacrifice, allowed him to return. Though wary at first, they eventually accepted him back, respecting the humility and selflessness he had shown. Chibuzo, now living a simple life, found peace in his work and in the community. He became a mentor to the younger generation, teaching them the lessons he had learned about loyalty, greed, and the importance of humility. Over time, Chibuzo's story became a legend in the village, a cautionary tale passed down from generation to generation. As the years went by, Chibuzo became a respected elder, known for his wisdom and the sacrifices he had made for the good of the village. He often reflected on his bond with the mermaid, the mistakes he had made, and the redemption he had found through humility. In his final years, Chibuzo lived peacefully, knowing that his life had meaning beyond wealth and material success. He had earned the respect of his people not through riches, but through his willingness to put others before himself. His legacy lived on, reminding the village that true wealth lies in integrity, humility, and the willingness to make sacrifices for the greater good. And so, Chibuzo's story became a timeless lesson for the village, a reminder that the pursuit of wealth without consideration for others can lead to ruin, but redemption is always possible through sacrifice and sincerity.
Greed blinded me, and in my pursuit of wealth, I almost lost everything. It took losing what mattered most to realize that loyalty, humility, and love are the true riches in life. Learn from my story. Greed may promise you much, but it takes far more in return. Thanks for watching Omastruestories. Subscribe, comment and like.